frequency, Arizona 411. Wrapping up Right By You from Karima Walker and Katie Kirby. That's off their Among Horses 5 EP. We'll be talking to Karima Walker here in just a little bit about that. And kicking off the third set, triple play set, St. Ignacio from her Hands in Our Names. Karima Walker on the phone. Karima, how's it going this evening?
It's going great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for taking the call this evening. Like I said, we kicked off the set with St. Ignacio. We went all the way back to 2017, which at this point feels like it could be 50,000 years ago. I don't know. And you, in between then and now, you've been extremely busy. And so we've got a lot to talk about. Let's talk about it. 2020 saw the release of an album called Among Horses 5. To give our listeners a quick background, this Son Canción record label, is that what it was called?
Yeah, Son Canciones.
So Son Canciones was flying artists out to Barcelona to stay on this ranch with that had horses on it. And Karima Walker was one of the very fortunate artists to get to participate in such a thing. You went out there with an artist named Katie Kirby. Now, I told you in advance that we were going to ask, had you met Katie Kirby prior to doing this, or did you guys meet on the project itself?
So we did not know each other, hadn't met before we both met in Barcelona. And then headed out to the ranch. That was our first meeting. I had looked her up and was just blown away by her songwriting, but no prior knowledge. Yeah.
The album is so cool. I mean, the concept itself is neat from an artistic standpoint, but the end result that you two put together is pretty amazing. And I could be reading into it wrong, and you can correct me if I am. But the song Right By You almost sounded like you guys were talking to each other in a way, like you wanted to make right by each other in the music that you were making together. Am I wrong in that assessment, or was that a song that somebody had written in advance?
That's such a sweet interpretation of that song. I hadn't thought of it that way before, but in a way, the process of writing that song was really different from the other songs. That was the one song where we kind of looked at it as like a genre exercise. And we were like, let's write something that's kind of like a country song. And so we just were like spitballing. It was after we had finished the other 4 songs. And so I think we were really relaxed and were just like throwing ideas at each other, playing with these concepts and sort of shaping it. And I think it's the most collaborative song of the EP. But yeah, in a way that's true. We were kind of trying to like figure this thing out together. And that's what we did.
Very cool album, very cool concept behind the whole thing. And again, I could talk to you for hours just about that album alone. But you've got a brand new album entitled Waking the Dreaming Body that it almost seemed like you had to go through hell and back to get finished. But it is out there now, and we've played a couple of tracks off of it. We're going to play Softer here in just a little bit, because Softer's actually grown to be one of my favorites from the album. And so seeing as how it's my show, we're going to play one of my favorites. Nice. But tell us a little bit about the process. I mean, you had the fact that you were really busy. You had, well, of course, we've got the raging pandemic out there. Your bio was talking about a few health problems as well. Tell us a little bit about the overall process of making Waking the Dreaming Body.
Yeah, I had initially planned to be way more collaborative with this record. After working with Katie, it just kind of like reaffirmed that I wanted to be working with other people, and had planned to work with this really amazing artist, Melissa Dine, who was going to work sort of as like an engineer and then maybe like a producer with Waking the Dreaming Body. And I flew out to New York. We were like putting the songs into Pro Tools, and I came down with a really terrible flu, and it knocked me out for like a week, and I could like barely get home. It was like pretty intense, and I got home and just kept plugging away on the songs. Was starting to think like, okay, when can I get back out to New York? And then that's when the pandemic hit. So it's funny because the record kind of came out of this sort of more like isolated, insular mindset, and the collaboration was going to open that out, and the pandemic just sort of closed it back down again. So I ended up engineering and producing the whole record on my own, except for CJ Boyd, who played bass on one of the songs, and then it was mastered by Matthew Barnhart. But it was almost a completely solo project, which wasn't my intention. I'm really happy with how it came out, but it was a pretty intense left turn halfway through the process about.
Had you had engineering experience in the past? I mean, I just because the board can be intimidating, and then getting everything wrapped into the computers and out of the computers. Had you had some experience doing that in the past? Because that's quite the undertaking.
Yeah, I putter. I putter around on some of the software.
I too putter.
I'm not a professional. I mean, I run live sound, so that's something I had been doing at Hotel Congress for a couple years, and so like I felt comfortable with the ear part of knowing where things needed to be in terms of like arranging a track or like a composition, but the technology piece is like the the sessions, if you looked at the Ableton sessions, like I don't think they would make any sense to someone who was like professionally trained as an engineer. Because it's like this pile of threads, just like pulling one, and I'm like, I don't know where that's going to come from. And it was an undertaking, but that was the other thing about the pandemic. Like all my work stopped, and so it was just days and days just sort of dropping into these songs. So I had a lot of time to figure it out.
Well, the project is awesome. We look forward to supporting it for the rest of the year. And with that being said, what's Karima's optimistic outlook going forward here in terms of, and it doesn't have to be music based. But in terms of what is it that Karima's looking forward to doing in the near future, be it supporting her own music playing live, or is it just hanging out and existing? Because that existing has been my plan lately. What's Karima looking forward to doing?
Yeah, I mean, I like probably anyone else I've missed live music so much. I just like a few months ago stumbled upon like some people playing in the street, and I just like was crying. I was like, oh my gosh, I missed like just being around it. So that's, yeah, that for me, that is like when I can go back on tour and see people in all these different cities that I haven't seen in a really long time. I'm, seeing friends at shows. I took it for granted, and I miss it now. And I can't wait.
It's going to be a great return. I look forward to it as well. Well, thank you so much, Karima, for taking the call tonight. We're going to go ahead and close out this third set triple play with one of my favorites. There's several off the album, but this is one of my favorites off of Karima Walker's latest offering, Waking the Dreaming Body, available on Bandcamp now. The name of this song is Softer on the Arizona 411 third set triple play feature.